Well, good morning, everybody. We're just a minute early here, so it does take some time for the Facebook Live producer to kind of connect to the group and get everything rolling smooth. And so I thought I would start a couple minutes early so that that whole transition can take place and we can actually be on time today. Not like yesterday. I was running a little crazy yesterday. So, in yesterday's group, we had a couple of really great questions, and they are both GMP related questions. And so, instead of carrying on directly in, the transition of information that I had been planning, I thought that we would take a little break from the schedule per se and address these questions today. So that's probably all I'm really going to have time for in today's 15-minute live, but they are great questions, and I think that they're quite applicable to all of us as makers, anybody who runs a business and makes, a natural health product or a cosmetic or skincare line or, any number of those things, an herbal product. The list really does go on and on. So the first question that I wanted to address is somebody looking for some clarity on the responsibilities, I guess, of distributor. That role and responsibility piece that we chatted about the other day. So I'm just going to read you guys the exact definition of a distributor, and then we will jump back into the question here. Um, so, what Health Canada says about a distributor, their defined term. Distributor means a person who sells a natural health product to another person for the purpose of further sale by that other person. So if you are selling products on your own and you are directly manufacturing them and selling them, you are not required to tick the box on the natural health product licensing form or on the cosmetic notification form of a distributor. However, if you have the intention of selling that product to, let's just say, in my case, Optimum Health is a place that I sell to. So, being that I sell to another company who then resells my product, I am a distributor. So that means that I have to tick that box. So anytime you are putting your product in a retail environment, you become a distributor. So any store that carries any of your products is the seller of your product, but you yourself are the distributor. They also may be the distributor and may require record keeping in terms of GMP record keeping, depending on who their clientele is and what their clientele's end goal with your product is. So, to answer the question here, and I'm just going to get back into the question. So, the question was can you clarify a point on distributor when completing a CNF, which is a cosmetic notification? I currently make and sell online products, so when I completed my CNFs, I thought I only needed to tick the manufacturer box. Should I also add myself as the distributor as well? Secondly, if I sell to retailers, do I need to amend the original CNF and add each additional retailer as a distributor? So it's a great question, very well thought out question. To answer it directly, um, if I were you and I were looking to move my products into that retail environment, I would go ahead and make that amendment now and check the box saying you are a distributor. End goal being that you put your product in a retail environment. If you are content to just sell your product individually to customers, you don't require it. To answer the second part of the question, you do not need to amend the CNF and add additional retailers. You are the main distributor, and therefore you are the role and responsibility per se for the generalized record keeping. You do have a responsibility to your retailers to provide them with the record keeping documentation that a typical distributor would require. So all of that stuff we covered the other day about that chart that I actually posted in the group underneath the comments from that GMP Live. Uh, you should really provide to your retailers a copy of a shared document, basically, that will take care of all of the record keeping responsibilities, so that you guys are on the same page, you have the same information. Things that are really critical and important are obviously going to be your lot and batch numbers, your expiry dates, those type of things. And that's the information that your retailers need to have. So that is, like, I have a shared spreadsheet, and I have a page within each spreadsheet that goes directly to each of my retail locations that covers all of my deliveries to those locations. So it covers the individual lot and batch numbers that they receive, and it covers the expiry date on all of the product that they're receiving, and it covers the best storage, I guess, for the products, about, temperature, humidity, light, dark, all of those things. So I would recommend providing that to any retailers that you are going to be dealing with. But in terms of the actual license applications, whether you're doing a natural health product or you're doing a cosmetic license, either way, they both fall within that ISO 22716-2007 that we've been talking about, that international standards organization. The standing order for cosmetic, it basically is the standing order for cosmetic good manufacturing practices. However, it is also what Health Canada and the FDA, as a matter of fact, and the EU, I believe, they all lead back to that one document for their good manufacturing practices. So anytime you're filling out an application, that is going to be your good manufacturing practices that you reference back to. And absolutely, if you intend to sell your product to retail markets where it is then resold to customers, you need to check the box saying that you are a distributor. So that is question one. And now bear with me, I get very dry throated as I talk. That was actually one of the most interesting things when I started doing videos and teaching like this, is how dry my throat gets. All right, so then the second question, and this one is, it's a great question again. It is something that Health Canada is discussing currently. There are some notations within the regulations as to the best mode of operandus in terms of record keeping. But what the question is can we keep our record of cleaning frequency electronically in an Excel file, or is the only acceptable method on a hard copy with a signature? So what I do for the cleaning records and the sanitation records is I wish I could share my screen, but I'm in Facebook Live. This is why I like to do the Zoom for our regular meetings. So I have, I've told you guys I'm developing that good manufacturing practices course that I'm going to, roll out here shortly. And as part of that, there's a template package that goes along with it, and instructions for every single piece of it. So what my recommendation is for your sanitation records and your cleaning records, I have a checklist that I use. And this checklist is filled out every single time I begin to formulate. So it takes me step by step through my processes. It takes me step by step through my premises. It takes me step by step through my equipment, my water supply, like the whole 9 yards. And this checklist is a template. It's super straightforward. I go through it all. And what I do is I have a binder. And in that binder, I have I usually do about a month worth at a time. I print each sheet out for how many days I think I'm going to be manufacturing that month, which is usually, like, I probably manufacture 2 days a week to get out to retail. And so, that's really only 8 to 10 sheets. It's not a lot of paper to print out. And you are filling it out on the fly, so it's never going to go to waste, because you'll just use it. If you don't use it that month, it'll just carry over to the next month. So what I do is each month I will have these blank templates in my GMP binder. I will go through it before I do my manufacturing, check it all off. At the bottom of that, there is a signature and date box. You sign it and date it, leave it in your binder. Then each month, once my month is complete, I take those checklists out and I move it into a binder that goes into storage. So you need to store your records on site, easily accessible. There are some records that you can get away with just doing Excel spreadsheets. And for those ones, it's a little bit different. You do need to have a copy of your master file per se, but you can do your record keeping for some of those electronically. But the recommendation is, especially with things like the sanitation, where it's like a regular required checklist, you do need to have those printed out and accessible. Because if ever you are audited, if ever you have a recall that you need to do, if ever they want to do a site inspection, all of those things, you need to be able to provide these and provide them validly. So, like, I mean, signed off, executed, done. You cannot sign off legally uh, an electronic document. I know in theory you can. I have an electronic signature that I use for a lot of documentation, but that is not how the federal government looks at it. They want to see an original pen to paper signature. So the other option for that is, you do a checklist every single day, and then at the end of the month, you can scan that if you wanted to and save it as an electronic record. Um, and then you're still at the end of the day, though, you're still required anything that has your original signature on it in terms of operations of your daily processes is required to have a physical copy. Now I know that gets, really accumulation of paper is like an issue, but if you do it in such a way that, let's say, you're printing double-sided paper and you are, moving your every month to, a storage container, and that storage container's out of the way, out of sight, out of mind, there are ways to keep yourself organized. That is something that we go over, in detail in the GMP course. But and like I said, there are various documents that are required in terms of actual live signature, and then there are documents um, like your formula records, your master formulas. Those ones are not like, I mean, I have mine printed out in a binder because I find that easily to access. Or sorry, I can't even talk today. Easy to access. And I do have people who come in and work for me. And so for them to grab that master formula binder and flip to the correct page and have it right in front of them is great. It's a simple process. It's easy for them to get into, easy for them to make what they need to make in the process that they need to make it, because it's all outlined and drawn out within that binder for them. So I think that, I myself, for my own records, keep it all electronically, in terms of my master formulas, but it's the things, any checklist, just to be clear, any checklist within GMP, and there are several checklists within your GMP, is going to require either your initial end date or your signature end date. And those documents need to be real hard paper documents, because you may someday need to provide them for an audit or a recall or a site license inspection to Health Canada. And you can generate anything you want to generate electronically that says you did this on this and this day. But again, the way that the federal government looks at it is that, anybody could put a date and a copy of a signature on a piece of paper. They actually want to see it printed out, signed in front of them. So that really was 2 questions. I hope that I've addressed them well. If you have more questions about them, please reach out to me. GMP it's a very large umbrella, and it is filled with documentation and record keeping requirements. All of them serve a purpose, and Health Canada has different specifications for lots of them in terms of, can we do it electronically or does it have to be hard copy? My best suggestion to you is anything that requires, like I said, a signature and a date, you have to keep a hard copy of. I know it's a pain in the butt, and I know we end up with a whole lot of paper that we have to manage, but it will protect you um, as you move forward in your career doing this, and as your business grows. It's also a protection for yourself. And a great example of that is the issue that I had with that. I had an issue with a supplier. I received a faulty product. I was forced into a recall based on the supplier's error. And I would have been lost, absolutely lost, if I didn't have my supplier verification and checklist. So I know what days and what batches of their product were the faulty ones. So that's number one, the supplier verification. Number two, my batch records that show exactly when I used that specific lot and batch of the product to make my product. So, because I had all of that paperwork in order, it literally took me less than 3 days to complete a recall and a documentation package and have it all back to Health Canada, including the certificates of analysis and all of the information on each raw material as well. And what that does is that proves due diligence on the maker's part. And so instead of the heat potentially being on me, and potentially being, directed to, well, did you make the error? It was very black and white, clear that I had checked my boxes, signed off on my verification from my suppliers, made my product in accordance with the master formula, included a batch record for each single batch of the product that I made, and had a tracking in place so I knew exactly where each batch and lot went to in terms of my retail partners. So, it protects you in the long run. I know it seems lengthy and kind of a really big thing to put together. Once you have your GMP in place, once you have these templates and you've, worked them into being part of your daily operations, it's the easiest thing in the world. Like, it really is. It's not a big deal to go through like a 10-item checklist and check it off and sign your name on it before you start production. It's like it's nothing. It just becomes part of the process. And that process is not just there for Health Canada, because they're asking for it and they require it. It's actually there to ensure the good manufacturing practices are A, followed, and B, to protect you so they can immediately identify the weak link in the chain, so to speak. So that's my preach for today. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. We are taking the weekend off. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Weekends and evenings, that's critical time with family, with friends, with your fur babies, just for yourself, to recheck and to reinvest in yourself and self-care. So I will see you guys all on Monday. I do scroll Facebook like everybody else does. So if there is like a question or a comment or something along those lines, I will see it. I will respond to it. But I won't invest a lot of time in my business on the weekends and evenings because that is time for my family, myself, my children, my husband, and I. And that's what my priority is on the weekends and evenings. So I hope you guys all have a fantastically lovely weekend, and I will catch you on Monday. Have a great day, everybody. Bye for now.